Morning everyone, and thank you for joining us today and also for taking the time. I hope that you can leave this discussion today with a better understanding and some more information about apprenticeships. For today I will be your host. My name's Lillie Tempest-Routledge and I work for Ixion Holdings, part of the Shaw Trust Group. Myself, I completed a level 3 business administration apprenticeship in the September just gone, and now I'll be looking at completing a marketing apprenticeship. There will be a chat box to the right of your screen where you can pop some questions in during our discussion, and we will open a section at the end where we will be answering them. So we'll just go through some quick housekeeping rules. So this webinar will be recorded, and we will start by listening to the panel about their apprenticeship experiences within their own organisation, and we will also after that open it up to questions. So just to double check, the chat box should be to everyone's right, and you can pop any questions in there which we'll go through after we've had our discussion. So we'll start by introducing the panel. So myself, my name's Lillie, and next up is Paul Willis.
Morning everybody, my name is Paul Willis. I'm head of apprenticeship strategy for Ixion, part of the Shaw Trust Group.
Thank you very much, Paul. And next up is Barbara.
Hello everyone, my name is Barbara Delguido. I'm the education manager and apprenticeship lead for an NHS trust, Hertfordshire Partnership University NHS Foundation Trust, which is specifically mental health and learning disability.
Lovely, thank you very much, Barbara. And next up is Lewis.
So I'm Lewis Cowey. I'm representing Banks Mining, part of the Banks Group. I'm the training coordinator in learning and development.
Lovely, thank you, Lewis. And next up is Kate.
Hi everybody, my name is Kate Wise. I'm the reception manager at the Lilyville Surgery in Parsons Green, Fulham.
Lovely, thank you. So that is the panel for today's discussion, and we will kick off this discussion with a question of why did you choose apprenticeships to train and develop your staff? Paul, we'll go to you.
Thank you. I think as a training organisation, apprenticeships is something that we've done for a number of years. I think why we got involved in apprenticeships, certainly to train and recruit new staff, is giving individuals an opportunity. It's an opportunity for them to develop new skills and progress in work within the organisation. It also gives an opportunity for individuals who are already employed to actually upskill or reskill in some cases where they're changing job roles or they're being promoted, so they need new skills to develop in their roles. So I think it's a number of reasons why as a Shaw Trust Group we've got involved with apprenticeships.
Lovely, thank you very much, Paul. Barbara?
In our trust, basically we're nurses, and we found with apprenticeships that we've got a fantastic career progression for some of our staff, and also we're going to open it up to other people that want to come into the nursing profession. So for example, we can employ someone that's got no qualifications and put them on an apprenticeship, which will take them up the nursing route to become a registered nurse. Also, amazing. With our staff that are existing, who are working as healthcare assistants, we can grow our own staff to become registered nurses, and it's so much better for the trusts that are working with staff that they know well and now going to be their qualified nurses. We also do business admin, customer service, so we think about our admin staff as well, and work with a lot of the training providers with what other apprenticeships they've got going.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Lewis?
So we have predominantly been a coal mining business. We've diversified into property and renewable energy. So near where we operate our sites, especially in the coal mining sector, we like to offer local employment wherever possible. So we've established a pre-apprenticeship program that leads towards the apprenticeship route if people have the appetite for it, because obviously on a surface mine, we've got very, very big machinery that can be quite daunting for some people to sort of look at and possibly have a career in. So it gives our employees exposure to surface coal mining industry. The apprenticeship route can lead to more formal qualifications, and Ixion have been assisting with functional skills for our staff in addition to the formal qualifications. So the whole journey, it sort of works quite well hand in hand.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And Kate?
Yeah, I think for us really, we introduced that because we do have a high turnover of staff within the practice, especially for the reception team and the admin team. And there were so many young people out there. I volunteer at a youth club as well. There's so many young people out there that were getting to the age where they didn't want to continue on in education, further education. So they wanted to be to go into the workplace. So I spoke with the managers here, the partners here at the practice, to see if we could join an apprenticeship scheme to help introduce some of these young people that were finding it difficult to get their foot on a ladder to secure a job. And yeah, it's worked out quite well.
Oh, brilliant. That's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Very, very, very varied different apprenticeships. So we've all got a different area to cover as well. So that's really good. Thank you all for answering that question. The second question is, can you give us an overview of the type of job roles you've utilised apprenticeships for? We'll start again with Paul. Thank you.
Thanks, Lillie. I think we've utilised apprenticeships in a number of different roles across the group. So I think, like Barbara and others have said, you know, we've recruited apprentices in at sort of business administrative roles and receptionist roles, like yourself, Lillie. What else we've also done is use the apprenticeship model to support our existing staff. So an example would be with the National Career Service. We've done a lot of recruitment there, bringing in new advisors, and once they're in post for a period of time, and they've achieved the level 4, what we're doing is then progress them onto the level 6 career development professional, and that's using the apprenticeship model to do that. Obviously, we're waiting to see how they do in their job role first before we commit to do that. They have to get the level 4 qualifications first. I think the other main one we've really focused on is people in terms of leadership and management. So where individuals are going into their first role in terms of managing staff, what we've done is support them through the team leader supervisor apprenticeship standard. And then those individuals who've maybe then made a step and progressed and start managing bigger teams, then we start looking at the sort of operational departmental management standard to support them in terms of their development. So they're a couple of examples of how we've used the apprenticeship programs across the group.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Paul. And Barbara?
A lot of ours are for career progression. So like I mentioned, receptionists will do business admin, customer service. We've got, we've just looked at and just started an occupational therapist apprenticeship linking with the university. So again, that was existing staff that started in OT departments and now want to progress to get the qualification, which again can take them higher. We've done project management. We're looking at team leader and supervisor apprenticeships. And basically what people do, they come to me and say, I want to career progress. I ask them, what do they do now? And see if I can find an apprenticeship that can suit the job role. So I link with Ixion to see what they've got, send their job description, and if Ixion can find an apprenticeship for that member of staff, then we go for it. So we're open to what our staff require to career progress. It depends on what apprenticeship we do. Most of ours are the nursing ones as well. We do a lot of nursing apprenticeships.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Barbara. Lewis?
So we have, similar to what Paul said, we've got quite a wide range as well. So on the surface mining sites, we've got heavy plant operators, heavy plant mechanics. Sort of in the group functions, we have things like graphic design, administrative support staff. We've got apprenticeships in engineering. We're also looking at the renewable side, as we're sort of evolving from the traditional wind farms, we're going into sort of battery storage, solar energy. So we're potentially in the future going to be looking at sort of engineering disciplines, apprenticeships in that field as well.
Brilliant. That's good news. Thank you. And next up, Kate.
Well, we've just had our second apprentice start about must be about 4 months now. The first one that we had, he was excellent, and just took on board every opportunity, every skill that he learned from straight out of school into the workplace. He was very customer focused. He was a great guy, but he then decided that this wasn't for him, and he wanted to go back. He wanted to go to uni, so he applied to uni, and now he's studying full time, which is great. But that gave him the, I believe it gave him the courage to take that step. Forward. We're now on our second apprenticeship. She's another person that we've received from your company that is just so helpful and willing to learn, and I can see her going a long way. We are a small GP practice, so within the group at the moment there's not an awful lot for going up the ladder, from the reception to the admin team side, but I still think that this is a stepping stone for her to go further. If it's not within our practice, then it will be elsewhere.
That's such good news. I think as well with apprenticeships. So I did the level 3 business administration. So my job role since April 2019 has been a receptionist, and then I qualified in September 2020. So I had a discussion with Paul at regards to what I could do, my next step, what area I could focus in. So since October, I've been working alongside marketing. So it's just a different area that I can look into, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I'm very fortunate where I do work for Shore Trust that there is a varied apprenticeships that I can do. So there's 3 or 4 different marketing ones. So I'll be looking closer and further at that, just to further myself. Thank you very much. So the next question is, what are the benefits of apprenticeships to your organisation? We'll start off with Paul again. Thank you.
I think there's a number of different benefits to each organisation. I think what it does for me, the benefits is apprenticeships can be bespoke. So this isn't about pulling things off a shelf and basically saying this is what you get. This is about these apprenticeship standards have been developed by employers for employers, and we've got the flexibility there to actually bespoke them to each individual's organisation. So everybody on the panel today, we all could look at a certain particular apprenticeship standard, but actually how we tailor that to each organisation is really critical. And I think that's the benefit of apprenticeships, is that you can tailor them to meet employer needs. I think what it does, it provides individuals with the right skills, knowledge and behaviours that we expect individuals to have whilst at work. And I think the apprenticeship standards follow that route. So it makes that, what it then does is it's ensuring that individuals are fully equipped with the right skills, but obviously that's going to benefit businesses in the long run, because it's going to increase productivity, it's going to increase morale because people know what they're doing, they've got the right skills to progress in the job role that they're doing. I think the other side, what apprenticeships does help, and certainly when you're bringing new people into the business, is the whole recruitment side of it. And certainly from our point of view as a training organisation, we can support with that recruitment side, where other times you're going through a recruitment programme, you've got to pay fees to recruitment agencies or wherever else you may go. Well, at least we can do that bespoke recruitment for you. And I know that's something that we've done, certainly with Kate just mentioned there, and with Barbara and Lewis. So I think there's some of the benefits I would say that you can get, but I'm sure the guys have got specific benefits that they've seen within their organisations.
Thank you very much, Paul. And Barbara?
I think the best benefit for us as a trust is going back into the schools and colleges and looking at the students that don't want to go to university, don't want to have that big expensive bill, and just sort of coming to us with maybe next to nothing. So what we will do is get them on a ward or a unit and work with them to build up the skills and knowledge that they require to do the job, and progress them throughout their career. At the end, there's no financial bill for them, but they've learned so much working with us, and we can push these skills and push their knowledge. And mainly, like I said, on the nursing side, we can have someone that comes in as a healthcare assistant that's working every day, earning a wage, but in the end, learning and progressing up to be a qualified nurse. And that's the benefits for our trust. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's very amazing. Thank you very much. Lewis?
So for us, for example, with our heavy plant mechanics, it's vital for us to have a sort of throughput of talent. We give people the sort of right skills, the right exposure, and if they want to go and say chase the dollar in Australia or work on a project like HS2, we've identified heavy plant mechanics as a regional sort of skills shortage. And if we've got that relevant throughput, it's vital for our business and the evolving of our business as we look to move away from the traditional elements of the business. Lovely.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Kate?
I think one of the benefits are that some of these people the apprenticeships bring in new ideas, fresh expressions. They can give a new lease of life to your business. Maybe we're doing something one way and they suggest that we should do it another way. So they've got lots to give as well as we have to give to them.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Kate. The next question is, what impact have apprenticeships had on your organisation? We'll start off with Paul again. Thank you.
I think we touched on it before. I think one of the things that the impact it does have is about that loyalty, because what we're doing is we're demonstrating that we're actually investing in people through the apprenticeship program. So actually what you find is individuals that see that we're investing in there, they become loyal. And I think what it does, it reduces your churn because they can see that you're investing in your staff, in your workforce. I think as us as an organisation, you know, being a levy payer employer, it gives us the opportunity to obviously, you know, utilise the levy to upskill our existing workforce. That means any money that we would have put aside for training, we can utilise elsewhere across the organisation, which is more important. But so having the levy pot and able to, you know, the vast variety of standards that are available now, it gives us a great opportunity to make sure that our teams are well equipped for now and for the future. And I see apprenticeships has been a big programme that will support the economy moving forward.
Definitely agree. Thank you, Paul. Barbara?
I have to agree everything you just said there, Paul. Investing in the staff, I think, is the main thing. It's nice for them to come in and know that they've got all that extra support and everything, and we are investing everything that we've got to support them through apprenticeships and, as I keep saying, career progress.
Very true. Thank you very much. Lewis?
So apprenticeships for us have given people in the local area, historically where we work, is in areas of pretty high unemployment. So it gives apprentices a chance and an opportunity to develop transferable skills that they could take elsewhere. There's a huge onus in our company of developing people with a caring approach. So our local apprentices have really been pivotal on our mining sites, and again, as I mentioned before, that throughput of talent's vital for us as well.
Lovely, thank you very much. And Kate?
Yeah, I think they have increased our productivity, and also the good feedback that we've received as a practice. Because working in the NHS, you sometimes get very negative feedback, especially a reception team. But they have, the apprentices that we've had very positive feedback, and that does increase our patient list, and it has increased sort of tenfold since we've taken on apprenticeships because of the good feedback that we've had with these guys.
Oh wow, that's really good to hear. Thank you very much. The next question is, what advice would you give to other employers who are considering using apprenticeships for the first time? Thank you, Paul.
Well, I think first and foremost is contact us. I mean, I know we're going to share details later in the of this event, but I think what I would suggest is, you know, have a conversation with the employer engagement team. Let us sit down and have that conversation with you. You know, carry out some kind of organisation needs analysis to really understand where you're going as an organisation, what your priorities are, where do you see yourself going, and you know, now and in the future, and then try to then map out what training requirements are going to be there. What staff is there any staff shortages? Do you need to look at career progression and succession planning if you've got an aging workforce? And then from that, what we can do is look to tailor programs to make sure we can put a sort of a proposal to you to say this is how we can support you as an organisation. I think from the recruitment side, again, this is something we can support with. We can support with job descriptions. We can, you know, we can advertise. We'll do a lot of selection for you as well, and we can support with interviews if that needs to take place. So, I think the other thing to bear in mind, and I think Lewis mentioned previously, is the sort of pre-apprenticeship side of things as well. And you know, there's a lot of discussions going on now with government pushing the traineeship program, and that's a great way to introduce new fresh blood into the organisation, give them that exposure, give them that work experience, which then can lead them onto that apprenticeship program. And I think that's certainly something from an employer perspective. It really will help you as an organisation to get the right people into the business. Lovely,
thank you very much, Paul. Barbara?
We work with a lot of the NH trusts around Herts and West Essex at the moment, so that's something that we've been doing for quite a while. What we're trying to do is branch out into primary care. So we are looking at supporting GP surgeries who've got staff that possibly want to do like the Student Nurse Associate Program. As a trust, we have gifted money to 2 GP surgeries to support members of staff that want to do this Student Nurse Associate course. So we're happy to do that, but we're trying to branch out just to let non-levy places know that the support is around. And like I said, we've gifted, other trusts will gift, hopefully, just bring it all together.
Lovely, thank you very much, Barbara. Lewis?
So our experience of apprenticeships has been overwhelmingly positive, and I would strongly urge other companies to consider the apprenticeship route to bring in fresh talent, upskill the current workforce. An example for us, we have an apprentice called Morgan, who we were introduced to via Ixion, and honestly, you think you're giving the young lad the world. You know, he's so overwhelmingly positive, he's really enthusiastic, he's so keen to develop. He's a real rising star in the organisation, and you know, all he needed was that little bit of a chance. He was very young, he didn't have very much experience. He joined us on a sort of return to work project, and honestly, just seeing his development every time I go there, he's into something new. And you know, if that's not a example of why you should take on an apprenticeship, I couldn't give a better example on him, to be honest.
I'd love to hear a positive story. Thank you, Lewis. And Kate, thank you.
Yeah, mine is exactly the same really as Lewis. We have Leah at the moment. She's just amazing. Nothing's too much for her. She's very enthusiastic, and she just, and she loves a challenge, and I do believe that she's going to go a long way. I just think that apprenticeships, they just brings, it's great to see them grow, and they just bring so much to they will bring so much to your company.
Lovely, all very positive, thank you very much. And the last question will be, how do you plan to use apprenticeships to future-proof your workforce? And we'll start with Paul, thank you.
So we lots of plans going across the Short Trust Group at this moment in time around how we utilise apprenticeships moving forward. One of the big areas that we're looking at, again, is looking at our leadership and management and developing that management programme and pathway from people, as I mentioned before, who are going into management for the first time, So that first level where we'll be looking at sort of team leader, supervisor, management, then progressing up to people who are managing bigger teams and giving them a bit more exposure in terms of objectives and team plans that they've got to come up with, strategic planning, which will take them to the ODM level. And then we're also now looking at sort of strategic leaders. So we're looking at level 7. So what we're trying to do is utilize the apprenticeship opportunities to actually have that progression pathway now for all our managers across the business. So that's one of the ways we see of future-proofing our workforce, especially with a lot of the new staff that were brought in the business across employability with the JETS program and work and health in particular, and the National Career Service. These are the type of things that we need to get in place to make sure we've got the right people with the right skills.
Lovely, thank you very much, Paul. Barbara?
We're looking at improving, obviously, our workload areas that are very short of staff at the moment with everything that's going on. So if we can introduce new staff on an apprenticeship route, that would be fantastic for us. We've also got a lot of existing teams that are very short of staff. So we're looking at bringing apprentices into those sort of teams. Like Lewis said, we've had 2 fantastic successful stories of apprentices that's come through Ixion that have just moved up the ladder themselves, and I think we've got another one starting shortly. But these are our little teams, our comms teams, our finance teams that are always saying they're short of staff. Well, have an apprentice and build them up to how you want them, and improve your workload and everything. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you very much. Lewis?
So as our business is sort of changing and evolving, our apprenticeships are really going to be in the next generation of, for one, sort of heavy plant mechanics. Again, it's a regional skill shortage that we've identified as well. And also with our renewable energy projects as well. Our renewable energy side of the business is a lot smaller than, it's got a lot smaller headcount than, say, the mining side. But again, future of the business, we need to continually think, adapt, evolve. Apprenticeships have been pivotal in our mining sector, so we want to kind of mirror the same in our renewable energy as well.
Brilliant, thank you, Lewis. And lastly, Kate, thank you.
Yeah, we're looking on getting another apprenticeship for the reception team. So if we could have another Leah, we'd be very happy, please.
We'll do our very best.
Lovely, thank you. So thank you, panel, for answering those selected questions. We now will move to attendees' questions. So if anybody that has been listening would like to pop any questions into the chat box, we'll open that up now, and we will see if any come in. Whilst we are waiting, though, we did have a set question earlier that someone had asked before we started, and that was, what is 20% of off-the-job training? Paul, would you like to elaborate on that one, just while we wait for some questions to come in?
Okay, yeah, not a problem. I think the 20% off the job has been around for a while now. This isn't just linked to standards, this has been there for frameworks as well. And I think it's a bit of a myth around what that's all about. I think the key thing to know about 20%, this can happen at work. It doesn't necessarily mean people have to leave the premises, but there's different ways that we can actually record and document what off-the-job training could be. So it could be around the teaching of theory linked to the apprenticeship standard somebody's on. It could be around role play activity and simulation exercises that we're doing to basically build people's knowledge and experience up within that standard that we're doing. It could be things like manufacturing training. So if you're getting a new equipment or new technology in, then that could be something that could be counted towards off the job. I mean, there's a range of things, shadowing, mentoring. So actually, going shadowing another member of staff, actually visiting another department to understand what the other department does within the organisation. This is all things that can be counted towards a 20% off the job. And this is something that we would work with employers to actually work out what that would look like and what the 20% is going to look like as part of that apprenticeship standard that someone's following.
Lovely, thank you very much for that, Paul. And we just have had a few questions come in. So the first one is from Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan. And it is, how can I ask how you profile individuals as to their readiness to take on apprenticeships? Barbara, would you like to answer that one?
I'm just thinking now.
I'll give you a moment to think.
Yeah.
Or Paul, can you save the day?
I think what the key thing is that obviously understanding what the job role is and what it entails. I think it's been very clear in terms of the sort of skill set that we're maybe expecting individuals to apply with. Because what we don't want to do is set people up to fail. I think that's a critical thing here. So I think it's been very clear around the job role and the job skill, the skills that we're hoping people are going to bring or what we're going to develop. I think we have to carry out, some thorough initial assessment on individuals before they join any program, just to make sure that they're at a level and they're capable of actually going through that apprenticeship program. And where support is required, we identify that support. So, for instance, within our organisation, there's a couple of tools that we use. So we've got initial assessment for literacy and numeracy that we do with every learner, regardless of what program they're on. And on the basis of that, we'll do some deeper sort of diagnostic assessments to understand if there's particular areas linked to literacy or numeracy that we really need to support with. We've also got another tool called Cognisys, which we introduced about a year ago now, and that's all looking at like neurodiversity, and what that it gets us aware of how individuals are thinking, and if there's any learning needs that come out of the back of that. And what we'll do is an assessment which actually develops an action plan for them individuals as well, so they know that we're putting things in place that's going to support them on that journey. So there's a couple of things that we would do.
And I think for us, what we would, because it's mental health and learning disability, we can put them on an area where they can start working to see if they like that sort of work, that job. I mean, we employ them on like a 6-month program, just to say, let's put you on an elderly ward because that's what you've applied for. See if they like it first, because some people look at mental health completely different to others. There's a lack of understanding with mental health and learning disability. So we would give them 6 months on the job, and then from there they can say, yes, I love it, and then we start the apprenticeship and get the career rolling.
I think for us as well, sort of in our organisation, a lot of we've got quite an ageing workforce, and when we were looking at apprenticeship routes, a lot of our heavy plant operatives couldn't read or write, which was a big challenge. Paul's sort of aware of this historically as well. And before they took on the apprenticeships, we work really closely with our with the ICSIAN tutors, and they've just brought them on leaps and bounds, and they're so appreciative now of that initial reluctance of sort of going through an apprenticeship. That it was really daunting on our sides, but they're so pleased that they've done it, and they're all nearly competing with each other to see who could get through the assessment and everything. It's been brilliant, and seeing them guys develop skills to help them not just in the job, but it helps them in their personal life as well. And I love seeing things like that.
Just going to say that, Lewis, I think that was a big thing, wasn't it? Is the fact that it didn't just help them within your organisation, but it helped them at home as well. Yeah. So a lot of these individuals hadn't been in education for quite some years, and obviously their sons and daughters are coming back home with homework, and they'll be looking, thinking, well, how can I support you on this? But I think actually going through that themselves, it made them a bit more confident to be able to support the families, which is really pleasing.
Lovely, thank you. Kate, do you have any comments to add on to that, or?
No, not really.
I still want to leave you out. The next question that has come through is from Claire. Thank you, Claire. And Claire's question is, how do you manage your apprentices remotely now? How much time per day does the line manager dedicate to each apprentice, please? Should we start off with Paul?
I think, well, from our delivery perspective, I'll come in from there. I mean, obviously, before COVID-19 struck us, we'd done the majority of our delivery was face-to-face, and we quickly had to move to a sort of remote delivery model. I think what I would say is it sort of made us think that actually face-to-face is probably not the way we need to go moving forward. And I think I'll categorically say we'll not move to a model where we'll do face-to-face 100% again. blended model is working really well. I think the key thing is with the blended model, though, is making sure that individuals have access to the right technology. And I think that's we've found that within certain settings where some people don't have that technology, which makes it a little bit more difficult in terms of what we're doing. But working with employers to support them has been really, really key and critical, so they can continue with their apprenticeship program. I'll let the guys answer in terms of time allocated to the apprentices. I think that'll be it'll probably differ from each organisation, I would have thought.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. Start off, Barbara.
Remotely work, it seems to be working well for us. A lot of our managers who have signed up for people to do the apprenticeship are aware that they're doing it, and will give them the time and the support to do it. So they'll be given I don't know, half a day, couple of hours, whatever that they need to meet up with their assessor remotely. On the nursing side, it's fine because a lot of ours are working from home on their days that they are doing their apprenticeship. So remotely works fine for us, and our managers are all up for it.
Lovely, thank you very much. Lewis?
We've got a sort of bit of a blended approach with it. So some of our administrative staff are working home remotely, and from the little bits of being stuck on mute and things like that, the initial the initial teething problems, they've got over, and it's working quite well. For our guys on site, nothing's changed hugely fundamentally for them, other than the distance, and which isn't a problem on the sites most of the time anyway. But we've got access to classrooms, the technology's there for people, so when they do need that time, they can just go into a classroom, safely distant from sort of the distractions on site, and they can contact the tutors, they can contact whoever their mentor is on site or remotely. So yeah, we've got a bit of a blended approach depending on the job function.
Lovely, thank you very much, Lewis. And Kate?
Yeah, I think it's worked out really well, actually. I'm here all the time, so yeah, Leah has access to me whenever she feels she needs to, but it doesn't impinge on my time either. So it's worked out really well. We don't actually set aside a specific hour each or 2 hours each week. It's an ongoing everyday input. But with the remote working, I think Leah's had to remote work twice now. And in actual fact, I think she probably felt more under pressure working remotely than she did within the practice. So, but she dealt with it extremely well. It's just the technology with and the confidentiality that we have an issue with people with working remotely.
Lovely, thank you very much. The next question is from Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. So her question is, do you recommend competency-based interviews as part of the pre-screening process linked to the standard for the job? Thank you very much, Amanda. We'll start with Paul.
It's a good question. It's a really good question. I think I would say yes to a degree. I think what you need to try to do is put individuals in that position and get some answers from them. I think some of the challenges with that is if you bring in somebody new into the organisation, into a new role, who maybe don't have that experience, that work experience element, then what they draw on from a competency base is probably going to be more what they've done in life, because they haven't had that work opportunity. Whereas if we had the traineeship model before the apprenticeship, then they could actually draw on that from a work experience perspective. But there's nothing wrong with doing some kind of competency-based interview where actually you're asking them to give examples in certain scenarios and how they would deal with that. So I would say yes, I would certainly include that in an interview process.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. Barbara?
Again, like Paul says, it's it's sort of different for us. So if someone's coming in that's got no experience or anything like that, we won't go down the competency based, because they could have just sort of left school. But we can put competency based questions in an interview, and just see what happens, because some of our people that come through have worked in like voluntary work in care homes and all that, so they'll have some sort of competency. But yeah, I think with us, we will just sort of like mix and match.
Lovely, thank you very much. Lewis?
So for us, I think to consider, rather than the standard competency-based interview, is something more along the lines of like an assessment centre. I think with apprenticeships, especially, you know, you've got people who've had a varying degree of experience, and an assessment centre can really get you're taking them out of the comfort zone a little bit, so you know everybody can play to the strengths a little bit. So if you give them a role play scenario, a team building task, you get to see people's sort of natural strengths, as opposed to, say, an individual who's, say, more polished in an interview stage or competency based. I think apprenticeships, you've got to consider you know, everybody's abilities a little bit, and you know, try and cater for everybody. That would be my
lovely, thank you. Thank you, Lewis. Kate, thank you.
Yeah, ours has just been mainly apprenticeships from straight school leavers that haven't gone on to any further education, so they wouldn't have had any experience. So we just give them scenarios and how they would deal with them, and take it from there.
Lovely, thank you very much for your answers. Another one from Amanda. I believe this one will be more for Paul. It is, does ICSIM provide support for ESOL?
Resol. Yeah, we have in the past, absolutely. I think, you know, that would be something as part of the initial assessment that we would look at with individuals, and what support we can put in place there. So it's certainly something that I would definitely not say no to. We would just have to do that assessment and identify what support would be required. We do have specialist teaching assessors within the organisation that focus on particular areas. So that's certainly something that we certainly can look into.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. And there was just another question from Claire. She would just like a little bit more information. Claire previously asked, how do you manage your apprentices remotely now? How much time per day does a line manager dedicate to each apprentice, please? And I believe Claire would just like a little bit more information. Does this have an effect on our line managers productively? Just trying to understand the impact. Paul, would you be able to advise a little bit more?
So I guess Claire's looking for a definitive time in terms of what that would look like. I think it's a really difficult question to answer in terms of putting a specific time on it, Claire. I would say if you wanted to average out over a program, you're probably looking, I would say, about, I would say probably, if you want to do per day, probably about half an hour to an hour and max a day. But to be honest, I think it'll depending on how the program's delivered, would depend in terms of the level of support that is required from a line manager. And I think, you know, we deliver our programs in so many different ways. So some of it is done on a one-to-one. Sometimes what we do is deliver it in a workshop environment, so we're actually bringing cohorts of people together. But I wouldn't expect it to be much more than what I've just said to you there, Claire, to be honest. But more than happy to have a conversation offline about that further, if that would help.
Lovely, thank you very much. Just for the last 5 or 10 minutes, the chat box will stay open if anyone else has any more questions. If we don't get around to it, or if you would like some more information, in a moment there will be an information screen pop up, just in case you'd like to ask some more questions in depth. Does anyone on the panel have any comments to make or anything that they would like to say?
I was just going to make one more. I think it hasn't been mentioned yet. It was just regarding there's a lot of incentives that the government are putting out there at the minute. And it was just to really bring people's attention to that in case people aren't aware. So one of the things that the government was in place before COVID happened was, if an employer took on someone 16 to 18, then there was £1,000 grant that was awarded to employers, which was paid in 2 instalments. Now that's still there, but what the government have actually done is they've added to that incentive. So there's other incentives there now, where if someone takes on an apprentice between now and the end of March, I believe, is that there's a £2,000 incentive for anyone who's aged 16 to 24. So that's new apprentices. That's not upskilling existing staff. That's new positions within the business. And for anyone over 25, so 25 and over, there's a £1,500 grant. So potentially employers, if you're taking on 16 to 18-year-olds, you could be looking at a £3,000 incentive that's coming from the government, or £2,500 incentive if you're looking at people over 25. So I think what it just proves is that the government really see is apprenticeships as a way to support the economy and get us back on track after COVID. And I think, now's a great time. While them incentives won't be there forever, so it's a great time for employees who maybe are thinking about getting involved in apprentices. There's a bit of financial support that's going to help you there, but as I say, it's not going to be there forever. So that was one of the things I just wanted to raise with everyone.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. There was we'll just finish on this last question. This also came in earlier. Someone asked beforehand, and it was, can I use apprenticeships to upskill my current staff? So Paul will just get
absolutely, and I think it's something that we mentioned today with everybody. This isn't just about recruiting people into the organisation. I think there's maybe some myths out there around apprenticeships are only for young people. That's not the case. And as like Lewis has pointed out there, within banks, there's a lot of people who have been in the business for a while, but we've used the apprenticeship program to provide them the right skills, knowledge, to be successful in their job role. So it's open to current staff, absolutely. What we're just going to make sure is that we ensure the standard is achievable within the job role that they're actually in.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. Does any of our other panel members have anything else to say or add on? No, we're all good. I'll hand over to you then, Paul.
Right. Well, I think we're coming to a close. I think the time's nearly out. I'll just like to say thank you to our panelists, to Barbara, Kate and Lewis, for taking part today. Really appreciate your time. I know time is busy at this moment, but we really appreciate you coming in, giving your views and opinions of how you use apprenticeships for your business. That was really good. Lillie, well done. I know this is your first time that you've hosted something like this. I think you're doing a great job, so well done. And thank you everybody who's attended. We hope you've found the webinar useful to get some insight from fellow employers, but the information you can take away. We're great. If you want to have any more information, I know there's going to be a slide with some details, and the engagement team will be in contact with you straight away to pick up on any questions or queries that you may have. So thank you everybody, supporting National Apprenticeship Week, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone's time, and stay safe and take care.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.